Something I get asked fairly frequently is how do you keep the weight off? It's not just how do you lose weight in the first place, but how to keep the weight off once you've lost it. Because there's a lot of people who very successfully do lose significant amounts of weight. They burn a lot of fat. People who have gone from being obese to being a healthy weight. And then at some point, over the course of years maybe, they find that I've put it back on again. And sometimes, quite commonly actually, put more on than they first lost. They end up bigger than they used to be, heavier than they used to be. It's a very demoralising cycle to be in, very demoralising. And it's so demoralising that a lot of people give up. They say, oh, I've tried and failed too many times. And look, I did this as well. I had several attempts at losing weight. It was the last time I did it is when it clicked. And I finally got it. Because there was a previous time that I'd actually lost a lot of weight. On my journey, in my story, I'd done it before. I was bigger coming out of university and lost a lot of weight. But then over the years, I put it back on and ended up back in that same type 2 obese state again. And I remember the feeling very well. When did this happen? It's a real feeling. When did this happen? You just look down one day and you're like, wait, what? Or you look in the mirror one day, you're like, I'm back to where I was. I thought I'd done this. It's infuriating. And it's I really empathise with that situation, that scenario. Or it could be a shorter term thing. You started your New Year's resolution, lost the stone that you wanted to lose throughout January, February, and then March hits and it all starts piling back on again. So how to keep it off? Firstly, every attempt that you've done is not a failure. So let's say you did lose a lot of weight and then you put it back on again. Don't see that as a failure, okay? Because everything you learned whilst doing that, if you achieved it and succeeded, take the win. That's a win. That's a W in the column. Take the dubski when you get it, right? That's a win, and nobody can take that away from you. Doesn't matter that you put it back on. It doesn't matter. That's what the negative people will try and say. That's what the manipulators and the narcissists and the negative people will try and say. Oh, but you put it back on. See, I told you you're not going to be able to do it. Like, that's because that's how they talk, right? That's how I hear their voice when they talk. So don't let them take that from you, okay? It was a win. It was a win. Don't let them take that victory from you. You did it. All right. Now, yes, we've ended up in a situation where we fell back into bad habits again, bad ways of thinking about things again. But don't let that derail you. Don't let that completely strip away and destroy your hope. Because that's what happened to me, right? It was like, oh, well, I'm no good then. I can't do it because I just put it back on again. That's not the right way of thinking about things. If you managed to do it before, then you can do it again. Not only that, you've learned so much. This is why even when something seemingly goes wrong in life, you learn so much from it that it can't be a failure because you learn. As long as you learn from something, there's no failures. Everything's just a lesson, a challenge, something that you learn from. You overcame it. That's how life works, right? It's not a big deal. It's not an issue. You tried. It maybe didn't work out perfect. Well, okay, but I learned a lot. So that whole framework, whatever it is that you learned, let's say, for example, you did keto and it worked for 2 months, right? If it worked for 2 months, then it worked for 2 months. Think of everything you learned. Think of how your insulin system works. You know that now because you learned about this diet. You know how carbohydrates work. Now, yes, we might say, okay, but as a framework, that the whole thing didn't last, so maybe keto isn't the right way, but you've learned about ketones. You've learnt about the glycemic index. You've learnt about glycogen. You've learnt about how your leptin levels. These are advanced nutritional things to learn. That's up there. That's the highest stuff we learn in the nutritional stuff. The academics of nutrition. That's the stuff we learn about when we're talking about the weight loss. Now, you've learnt all of that. Now, yes, we ended up putting weight back on. Why did we put weight back on? Because you're a human being, all right? You're a human being. It happens. But here's my advice on how to keep it off then, because that's what we want to do, is end this cycle. This cycle's been going on for too long. How do we end it? Well, you just didn't go quite deep enough on that pass. The cycle of behaviour change, it often takes a couple of goes around the merry-go-round, okay, till we come flying off the thing. It has to speed up, so we come flying off. So we went around, but we didn't quite manage to break the cycle. The reason being, we didn't get deep enough into our beliefs. That's the deepest level we need to get to. This is what I had to do to finally get it, I had to go through the ringer a few times until I really understood. And partly it's the experience. It's that experience of, I'm sick of the cycle now. I'm sick of this. I need to get it right now. This needs to end permanently. This cycle, I ain't going through this cycle over and over again. So partly it's just the experience. Just keep going through it and you learn each time. And then you get so fed up and so sick of it. You're like, you know what? I'm just done with the whole thing. I'm just going to make it stick now. But it's the deepest thing in behaviour change, the deepest thing in our behaviour change is when it comes down to our beliefs. It has to get into the deep, deep belief system that we have in our head. And often we're overriding now. We're getting deep down into the hardwiring of the brain. We got to get real deep into it. Start hardwiring. Get into the system. Dig up the foundations and start again. We need to change our food beliefs. There are two things. Food should only be used for two things. There's only two things that you should ever be eating for: fuel and celebration. Those are the two things. Any other reason is the wrong way of looking at things. And that's why we've ended up in a position, in a circumstance, in a situation, why you've ended up falling back into those negative eating patterns. Because here's some things that food is not. Food is not entertainment. It's not something to do to entertain yourself and distract yourself. I'm bored, so I'm going to eat a pizza. That is not what food should be used for. We've been conditioned to believe that it is. That's just the culture that we live in. Literally a consumer-based society. They want you to consume. That's one of the ways they trick you into doing it, by saying it's a good time. Let's eat a big bowl of nachos and we're all having fun. It doesn't work like that. It's not the right way to stimulate your dopamine response. It's just not. It's not entertainment. It's definitely not medication. There are so many people who are self-medicating their anxiety and their depression and their stress through food. Why? Because it's readily available, it's legal, and everybody turns a blind eye to it. So people self-medicate with food, and people aren't really aware that they're even doing it. So that's why it sneaks back up on you. That's why you lose the weight and put it back on. That's why it sneaks back up on you, because you're not seeing the very subtle habits that remain hidden to you. And it's the habit of medicating yourself, comforting yourself, soothing yourself, using food. That's the belief. It's the belief that, oh, I've had a hard day, so I need to have those chips. That's what needs to change. I can't tell you that it's easy. I wish I could. If I had an easy method of doing it, I'd tell you what it is, and I'd probably be a millionaire, because everybody wants the easy method, okay? I don't have the easy method, but I have the method that works. And it's hard. That's it. That's all I can tell you. It's rough. It sucks, to be honest with you. You think I don't want to go and eat that pizza when I feel low? You think I don't want to just chow down on a bowl of nachos? Of course I do. But I want to be healthy more. I'm not letting this world manipulate me into having an unhealthy body. This is my body. I came here with it, all right? And I'm going to be fit, healthy, strong, lean, a good weight. That's what I want to be. And the world stresses me out, and then the world tries to put a pizza in my face and say, this is the solution to your being stressed out. I ain't having it. I ain't having it. So that's it. When people ask, how do you keep the weight off? That's what you need to do, is get into the beliefs about food. Get into the hard wiring of the brain and see What do you see food as? When you think of food, when you look at food, what do you see? Do you see comfort? Do you see medication? Do you see entertainment? The reason that what it should be used for is fuel and celebration is because absolutely at Christmas, let's have a nice big Christmas dinner. When it's your birthday, eat a birthday cake. Absolutely, we need to live our lives and celebrate our lives. Celebrate and enjoy your life, absolutely. And just because food is fuel, that doesn't mean it's chicken, broccoli and rice forever. Of course, fuel sometimes is very delicious, very healthy, very tasty food. It can be tasty and fuel at the same time, but we have to check in. We have to check in. I love the sound of rain on the roof of a car. It's beautiful. We have to check in with how we're using that food. Whenever you're eating, think, is this fuel? Is this celebration? If not, you don't need those calories. That's everything I have for you today, team. Thank you so much for listening. If you're on the path, you're on the journey, and you keep finding that you keep getting it and then losing it, I say keep at it, because one of these times it's going to stick. No matter how many times you've tried and it hasn't gone your way in the past, it doesn't matter. You still have time.